From the Black Fortress, flying through the galaxy as part of the army of slayers, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two guys being controlled by Zontar, the Thing from Venus, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Oh my goodness, what an interesting reference that was. Zontar, huh? Corey, who Zontar'd us?
That was written by Cameron Moises, who appears to know more about science fiction than I do.
Corey.
We love Corey. So, anyhow, second week with these Samson mics, and I don't know, Mark, it may be the last. I think I might send these things in. I might toss them back.
Where'd you get them, Amazon?
Yeah, I don't know that I like them. I'll try it one more week, but it doesn't sound like I'm not thrilled with the sound I'm getting out of them. I'm not happy.
Well, if you're not happy, Wade,
and I typically like Samson material, but Samson makes good stuff. But I don't know, they're not doing the job.
Well, then dump them, and let's talk about DVDs.
Might as well. Mark, start us off with some Motown. And I don't mean sing any Motown. I mean, talk about that Star Vista Time Life Motown release.
Oh, Motown 25. Yesterday, Today, Forever is awesome. Totally awesome. This was this debuted on NBC in 1983, and it was a great show. I vaguely remember it at the time, actually. I needed to watch this to remind myself. Mainly because in 1983, I had the lamest taste in music ever. I was pretty much listening to Journey all day and night.
Yeah.
And not timeless stuff like, The Miracles, The Supremes, Jackson 5, Temptations. Horrible stuff like that won't last at all.
Right.
Instead, I was listening to Journey. But this is great. It's a 3 DVD set featuring extended cuts of the show. Almost 30 minutes of footage never broadcast. You got Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, Lionel Richie, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
It's great. Really great stuff. Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever. 5.1 surround sound. Sounds pretty good. 83, it's kind of the modern era, but not the super duper duper modern era. So it sounds really good, but, not amazing.
Yeah.
So it's great. If you love that great music, Commodores is on here. Martha Reeves, Four Tops, Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. Highly recommended.
Nice. Motown, man. Well, anyway. So, let me...
What was that?
I don't know. I was just having a Motown flashback. I was just thinking about some of my favorite Motown music, and it took me out of the show for a moment. Real quickly, we've got some Megahertz international mystery stuff. Megahertz just finds all these great foreign language TV series that are just first-rate, cinematic, really good crime and mystery stuff, and they go scouring the globe, and it's amazing how much good television there is going on in other countries. Primarily tends to be France and Italy, most of this stuff. But Inspector Manara, not to be confused with Tony Manero, got the first 2 seasons here, Inspector Manara Season 1 and Inspector Manara Season 2. As you might imagine, this is a television series from Italy, and it's not one of the best things that Megahertz has ever found. It feels a little bit familiar, a little bit like a lot of these others. I assume that the reason this show exists is because Guido Caprino, who plays Luca Manara, is just some kind of a crazy hot stud actor in Italy, and everybody loves him, and so it rides much more on his personality and his star power in Italy than it would here necessarily. But that said, it takes place in Tuscany, and there's no more beautiful place on the entire planet. So what it misses in certain parochial concerns that may not translate terribly well, it makes up for in production value and in some really solid writing and in beautiful, beautiful surroundings. So that is Season 1 and 2 of Inspector Manara. Then there is also Luca Zingaretti in Borsellino, The 57 Days, and Gianni Falcone, The Judge. This is a double feature of some pretty good stuff. My only issue here is that some of the legal particulars of the Italian legal system don't really make sense to me, and I got a little bit lost in it. Borsellino here, the character played by Luca Zingaretti, is a judge, and it's good stuff if you can keep up with the peculiarities of the Italian legal system. And then the last two, Cesare Mori is really it's kind of an incredible true story, actually. This is a guy who sort of wiped the mafia out of Sicily, and it's sort of an extraordinary thing. And this is a rather lengthy movie. It's nearly 4 hours long, television movie. I guess it would be a miniseries here, and it goes into all of these details, and kind of these the World War I up to World War II period, and how he was basically cleaned up the entire island of Sicily. Anyway, it's very, very dense. It does presume that you know a little bit, that you bring a certain amount of information and knowledge to the table, that you're already a little bit on board with how Sicily operates and so forth. But that said, really, really very engaging. And then lastly is Donna Detective. I know that sounds silly, but this again, Italy. These are all Italian this week. Lisa Milani is a detective who wants to just kind of let go of some of the tough life and not be such a hard-ass cop all the time. But then she winds up, they pull her back in, and next thing you know, she's leading up a whole team in Rome, and she's got to track down the dregs of society. And she's tough, and she's good, and she's really engaging, and I just think it's a sharp show. So that's Donna Detective, along with Cesare Mori, Borsellino, The 57 Days, and Gianni Falcone, The Judge, and Inspector Manara. So those are all from Megahertz Networks, MHZ, this week. Pretty cool stuff.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Mark,
yes. Well, I thought you were waxing rhapsodically about
No. We're done. We're moving on.
I like how you somehow managed to start the show with the DVDs that our audience least cares about.
Well, it's television. People like television.
Well, to save that stuff for the middle of the show.
Okay.
We should be teasing them and making sure that they stick around.
Okay.
By talking about stuff that they know about.
Okay.
No way.
I'm just trying to save the best for later. Oh, I'm gonna have so much fun talking about this.
Are you now?
Oh, I am. Yes.
Well, you want to talk about now? At
Sure.
least that's something our audience cares about.
So Mark. And since you already know what I'm going to talk about, pretend like we're doing a bit here, like you really don't know the punchline to this.
Got it.
So Mark, there's a TV show, the first season of which is available on Blu-ray, on nice big splashy Blu-rays, and of course because the distributor has so much respect for us, they decided to send us the first season only on DVD and in little white envelopes without actual final packaging or anything at all. It's just
why would they do that?
That's how much they respect us. Why would they do that? Because they're Marvel. That's why. So once again, the mega billionaire cheapskates at Marvel decided to throw a few shekels at us and allow us almost 3 weeks after the fact to actually get a peek at the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but not on Blu-ray. Heaven forbid we actually see it the way it was intended, so they threw some DVDs our way. It just appalls me at how cheap that company is. I'm just appalled. The way they make no effort whatsoever to befriend the press, to market through the press. They think the Marvel model is, we don't need the press, we're going to bypass you because the fanboys don't care, and we're just going to put all our money into just greasing the fanboys. And they see no point in actually spending. What it would have cost them to actually just send us one Blu-ray set. What would it have cost them? Truly, like Marvel can't afford that. Are you kidding me?
But that includes the way they treat their below the line filmmakers.
They treat everybody.
Why didn't they take out a for your consideration ad for Avengers? Not that it would have won, whatever, Best Picture, but why don't you say thank you to the people who made that thing that
they don't care.
one of the top grossing films of all time.
I'm really trying to find out who the person is who calls the shots on this. I don't think it's Kevin Feige. I think it's somebody else in the executive structure who's made that decision, and we're stuck with it. Anyway, so first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Here's my feeling. There's some good stuff in it, and there's some bad stuff in it. It is a very ambitious show. But I'm really on the fence about all of their attempts to. I think there's a point at which you got to stop tying everything into everything else, because you're eventually going to. I realize the Marvel universe in comic books works this way, and I realize Kevin Feige wants it to work this way in film as well. But not everyone is going to be seeing every Iron Man film, every Thor film, every Avengers film, every Captain America film, every Hulk film, and watching every single episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just so that they can literally live their lives vicariously in this alternate universe of internet, like perfect Marvel interconnectivity, Guardians of the Galaxy and everything. It's like, oh my gosh, there's that guy who was in that movie and the person with this, and then they got the thing. Well, but here's the thing, though. Then Loki's sword is showing up in Captain America, and then at the end, it's the it's like,
thing
oh
with
my
Agents
gosh.
of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that the reason why this show is kind of sputtering, although it did get a new season, is because it's Captain America doesn't show up. Iron Man does not show up.
Correct.
They're trying to expand the universe without using those core characters.
But it ties in. It sort of dovetails from the first Avengers movie, right?
Well, it has to, because otherwise there'd really be no reason to watch it.
And then it tied in most recently to the Winter Soldier. But I don't know that was a smart thing to do, because you're assuming that people who are watching this show, if you didn't, tell me, if you had not seen the Winter Soldier, would there be a deficit in your enjoyment of the series?
I guess if I had to know it, I guess I would have to go online and try to fill in the blanks and see what I missed.
I agree. I think they are expecting more. They're expecting a higher level of participatory involvement from the audience in the Marvel universe than they're going to be able to get long term.
Right.
I really do. I think it's a mistake. But that said, there's some very interesting and ambitious things. But I think they gotta loosen the bootstraps a little bit. They gotta not. I know it's really fun to sit in those executive meetings and figure out how everything is going to cross pollinate and cross promote everything else. But at a certain point, once that starts unraveling, there's no putting it back together.
If they had 2 or 3 core superhero appearances every season, maybe like episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 build up to the Iron Man appearance in 5. Episodes 6, 7, 8, and 9 build up to the Captain America.
I don't even think that would work.
You know what works, Wade?
What works?
NYPD Blue.
Oh yes, that was a good show.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
Dennis Franz and Rick Schroeder.
Yep.
Was in this. Season 7, and at this point, the original inspiration was starting to wane, but still, people dug it. And it's from 2000, so it's kind of old, and I don't know why you'd want to necessarily revisit this unless you're a total NYPD Blue completist. In fact, this show's kind of forgotten a little bit. But Mos Def is
it was Bochco. It was Bochco's kind of swan song. It was the last big thing that he did.
Walker, Texas Ranger, The Reunion. Now, this is a Chuck Norris reunion movie. This was available only in Walmart, and there are digital copies available on Vudu, which, of course, is Walmart's the streaming service. And I don't know what to tell you. Look, if you love Walker, Texas Ranger, you know what you're going to get. There'll be cowboy hats, and justice will be meted out, and whatnot, and so forth. The only thing funny about the only thing I like about Walker, Texas Ranger is all those Chuck Norris jokes.
Oh, sweet!
Like beneath Chuck Norris's beard is like another fist or something.
Yes.
Complete 7th season of the inexplicable Big Bang Theory. This stars a bunch of people, Jim Parsons, who keeps winning the Oscar or whatever they win in TV. And I don't get it.
I don't get it. I kind of don't get the show, but here's what I really understand. First of all, I get bits and pieces of it. It's kind of nerd culture and it's geek culture, and that's become kind of a thing.
One-note show.
But it's the Chuck Lorre phenomenon that really mystifies me. Chuck Lorre, even though I kind of I take his side in all of his battles typically, whether it's with Charlie or with Roseanne, whoever it is that's bagging on Chuck Lorre, I'm going to it's his show. He writes it, he produces it. It's he gets to do what he wants with it. But I don't understand how. He's not that great. You know, he's not. It's not like he's created Cheers. It's not like he created Taxi. I mean, these are all kind of mediocre shows. Roseanne really is not that great of a show. And
Roseanne. The sitcom was kind of groundbreaking for the time.
For the time, but you look at it now. It's like whatever.
Well, I'm sure that always happens.
2.5 Men. Some very funny stuff on that show.
Terrible.
But it's not classic television.
No.
I mean, how does he keep getting these hits?
I don't know. You know why? Because if it can't be either too good or too bad. If it's too smart, it's going to turn off stupid people. If it's too stupid, it's going to turn off smart people. So it's got to be just. It's the Goldilocks phenomenon.
All right.
Right. His porridge is just warm enough.
I guess.
And it's fine, and it just does well enough. And obviously, this thing has become a huge, enormous phenomenon.
I suppose.
Johnny Galecki's in it, obviously, and Mayim Bialik, who's been going crazy. A couple of weeks ago, Mayim Bialik was going crazy on Twitter. Saying that Frozen's a terrible movie. And,
I saw that. Yeah. What was her issue with it?
Who knows? I don't really read the
she's got
collected writings of Mayim Bialik.
She's got like a PhD in PhDs or something, doesn't she?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Terrible. Although Bob Newhart's in this episode. Any Bob Newhart is good Bob Newhart, so I like that. But I'm not a fan of Big Bang Theory. I don't get Chuck Lorre. I don't get the show. It is a one-note hack joke show. Put it out there.
Key and Peele, Season 3 from Comedy Central. These guys are just really hitting their stride. They're starting to get feature offers and all kinds of great stuff. And they are funny, man. They really are funny. These guys are a great team. The stuff is well produced. They're getting more and more money to do the stuff they want to do. It's pretty great. This includes a couple of running gags from their show, East West Bowl 2 and Substitute Teacher 3. Are the ones that they're promoting very, very heavily. Have you seen their teaser for their next season?
I have not.
Where they're hunting aliens?
No, I have not.
It's really funny.
Oh.
It's really funny. I mean, they're kind of roaming. They put a lot into this promotion. I mean, it's got alien ships and everything flying over, and they're roaming this desolate, apocalyptic wasteland, looking for survivors. They have their guns in hand, and the survivors are all white people. And the way they find out if they're aliens is by, the key, like, would you let me date your daughter? Sure. Bam! Alien.
That's funny.
It's funny stuff. It's really, really funny. So they are really, really sharp. And their pop culture jabs are just razor sharp. They're doing the kind of work that Saturday Night Live doesn't have the guts to do this last season. Man, is that a bloodbath or what at Saturday Night Live? Jeez, just moving people around and firing people and bringing new people on. And I'm looking at some of the, like that, this one new guy. I don't think
too much inspiration there.
I don't see. I think they're kind of really.
It's time for the down years.
It's going to be some downtime.
A friend of a friend, actually a really good friend of Zach's. He was up for that.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, he played it. They flew Lorne Michaels into L.A. for a night.
Yeah.
For a showcase just for him to look at potential new cast members.
Gee whiz.
And this friend of a friend is very talented. He actually had a film in Toronto, like a very, 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 very low budget film. He auditioned, and he's really funny. He's great. In the end, Lauren passed on him a couple times, but he made it to the final round. He auditioned in front of Lauren.
Wow. Well, good for him.
Rain is a CW show. Which, of course, like most CW shows, especially ones that have to do with, like, Mary Queen of Scots, has very little to do with historical accuracy and a lot to do with, romance and teenagers hooking up because that's what they do. And so if you like that kind of stuff and you like, the usual CW collection of handsome guys and hot brunettes, that's like all they do. And so, I just think it's basically just a high school movie set in the 16th century. So complete first season of Rain. I don't get it. The show did get picked up. Looks good. It's got all the costumes and whatnot, but I just think it's just a ridiculous high school show set in the 16th century.
So, Years of Living Dangerously, the complete series from James Cameron, Jerry Weintraub, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is a big Emmy-winning nonfiction documentary series. There's an interesting thing going on here because you look at these people, James Cameron, Jerry Weintraub, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What do these people have in common? I mean, Jerry Weintraub, of course, producer of The Karate Kid, good friend of, George Bush, big Republican, Arnold Schwarzenegger, moderate Republican, former governor, action film guy. James Cameron has worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but James Cameron's, big Democrat and a donor and big on climate change. It's like, what are these guys what brings them together? And it's this show about the effects of climate change around the world on people and so forth. Here's the problem with the show. Without getting involved in the whole climate change debate, is it man-made? Is it not man-made? Is it real? Is it not? God wouldn't allow it. Is nature just doing its thing? I don't want to get into any of that stuff. It's just I'm talking about the show. What the show really is about is people who are deeply impacted by hurricanes and all kinds of inclement weather and floods and droughts and various things like this. But there's nothing here that necessarily categorically connects any of this stuff to quote-unquote global warming. So there's a lot of latitude here for people who are deniers to keep denying, and even though it gives a lot of ammo to people who are big climate change activists to say we got to do something. So it doesn't really resolve the debate. It doesn't bring the two sides closer together. It certainly doesn't even introduce any kind of détente. It's really just people stories. So at the end, it's really less political than it is just a lot of human interest stories.
And nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, if anybody wants to go into this, like, climate change, no, climate change, you're not really, it's not gonna change you one way or the other. But pay attention to the people.
You know what's going to change me, Wade?
Huh.
Grimm.
Yeah.
Grimm is an NBC show
I don't like it.
Huh?
I don't like it.
I don't like this show either. You know what it is?
I've tried to give it a chance, but it's.
It just seems weird. It's like there's a detective,
I don't know.
And he's descended from this line of guardians, and they like protect humanity from these mythological German creatures, and it's like, what? Run that by me again?
Yeah.
I just think that the show is not great. And now that NBC's on top, although the show's not doing that bad, but now that NBC's on top again, which seems like a miracle, they should be doing better shows than Grimm. This just seems like a total seat filler.
Is it a coincidence that NBC is doing well now that they got rid of Zucker?
Oh my God, he was terrible. Well, Zucker and also David, what's his name, Silverman or whatever his name was, Ben Silverman.
Yeah.
Between Zucker and Ben Silverman, those were years of just terrible patronage of that legacy network. And look, all these things are cyclical.
I know.
CBS was like the old person's network, but for years CBS was on top.
Yeah.
Right. Where's Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
CBS.
Yeah.
So it's all cyclical, and people thought NBC was dead. And they were dead because look, Must See Thursdays was gone and whatnot, and now they're back on top. They have the Blacklist, which is like a huge hit. So these things are cyclical, and look, next, whose turn is it next? Probably ABC.
Well, all right, and then we've got Awkward Season 3. This is an MTV series all about the angsty politics of the kids and teenagers and millennials. And you know what? There's nothing going on in this show. I'm sure if I were that age, I'd probably relate to all of these issues. But as it is, I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking, you know what? I don't know. I turn the TV on and I see people getting their heads chopped off, and I can't. I'm sorry. I can't get into your little petty high school dramas. It's not. I can't do it. Not important, but I guess people who watch MTV don't really care. So if Awkward floats your boat, then, inflict your young upon the world.
Wade, if you go on the Transformers Age of Extinction Rotten Tomatoes page, here's what you'll see.
Yes.
You will see, I believe,
I'm opening the swag. That's what this sound is.
Swag?
They send us some swag.
You will see 143 rotten reviews, and you'll see 31 fresh reviews. So it's 143 to 31. Guess who one of the 31 is? Me.
You liked it.
No, I did not like it. However, basically, this is what it is. It's a bunch of robots, and they make a lot of noise for 3 hours, and the movie's over. What's it going to be? Sophie's Choice? This is what this crap is. This crap is this. So there you go. So it's got a good new cast. Mark Wahlberg, I think, really he amps it up because Shia LaBeouf is this little twerp. I want to beat the crap out of him.
He's gone. He's off.
At least Mark Wahlberg is like a kind of a real actor, and it's got a good supporting cast. Stanley Tucci's in it, and so what can I say? It's just the Decepticons and the Crapicons, whoever they are, they're all on the run, and then Mark Wahlberg winds up running into Optimus Prime, who's been in hiding, and so they all decide to get back together and try to save the world from the Decepti-blah-blahs.
Again, for what, the fourth time?
It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. Yeah, look.
What is this?
Huh?
What is this?
It's like it's a bag. It's like a knapsack thing. It's like you sling it over your shoulders. Give this away.
Why did they send that to us?
We're giving this away. I will mail it to the winner.
Are you serious?
Yes. Someone's going to want this.
You think someone's going to want that?
Of course.
All right.
Wait, our listeners are not 65 years old. They're like 20. They would love this, and it is free. Okay, we are going. You know what? We're going to put this on the Facebook page.
Yeah,
we're going to put a picture of this on the Facebook page.
You run it.
And we are going to give this away.
Here's the bag.
I can't put it back.
That's the bag it comes in.
I don't know if I can stuff it back in this bag.
It folds up just along the creases.
Made in China.
Of course it was.
This is the
movie caters to the Chinese.
It's true. This is a Transformer. It's a very thin and rather cheap, but still, you can use it. Transformers, some sort of a bag.
You're selling it, man. Sell it, Kaiser. Oh, it's just so
when you
impressive.
see the picture on Facebook, go to Facebook right now. You'll see the picture. Let's say, because Transformers is the fourth movie in the series, let us say the fourth email we get with the subject line Transformers bag. We'll get the Transformers bag. I have made the call. I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to pay for shipping out of my own goddamn pocket.
Okay.
Because you're not going to use it. I'm not going to use it. Someone's going to enjoy it. So the fourth person to email us to put Transformers bag in the subject line of their email, I personally will stuff this thing in an envelope and send it to you. And go on the Facebook page to see what it looks like, because we'll take a picture of it.
And that's the fourth person who will put their name and address in the body of the email. And what goes in the subject line?
Transformers bag.
Transformers bag. Oh my gosh. Heaven help us all.
Transformers bag.
Okay. So the indie hit of the summer was Chef.
Yay.
Can you believe that?
Why not?
I know. It's, Jon Favreau decided I'm not going to be Mr. Blockbuster for at least one summer. I'm going to go back to my little indie roots. And
good for him.
I know, right? He threw together a little independent movie called Chef. He wrote it, and he directed it, and he produced it, and he's acting in it. And it's got a good cast. It even has Robert Downey Jr. pop in, a little favor from, not as Iron Man or anything, but Scarlett Johansson, Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo, Dustin Hoffman. It's a good little collection of people. And the idea is that he is a chef who was working at this hotshot restaurant. And as often happens in the movies, right? Success doesn't mean success. He feels unfulfilled. And he just decides to, up and go to Miami and teams up with his ex-wife. And they start a food truck business. And it's a sweet human interest thing. And it's not perfectly... It doesn't fire on all cylinders. It lags in big chunks. And I don't know that it wraps out quite successfully, but it's got enough little gems in it to hang on to that you really kind of feel fulfilled at the end of it. Bobby Cannavale's in this too, really good. It is a sweet. It's tough not to root for the movie in spite of its flaws, and it is. It's been a big independent hit this summer. Amazing. So
you know what? I'm happy for Jon Favreau. I'm happy that he still has it in him.
Blu-ray
even
and
after Iron Man.
Blu-ray and DVD combos.
I'm glad that he has it in him to do those sorts of films. Because you know what? Believe it or not, I'm just saying, folks. Believe it or not, some people who make movies actually like movies.
It's true.
They don't just want to make the next Spider-Man film.
It's really
They
amazing.
actually want to make a movie. I know what you're saying. So, whoa. Right? Everybody wants to make Captain America 17. Well, you know what? Sometimes they do want to make Captain America 17. But like Jon Favreau, sometimes, you know what? You are inspired because you're an artist and you want to make a film called Chef, and you do that, and that's okay. In fact, thank God that's still happening. Wait, I don't like Paul Haggis. You know what? I don't like his movies. You love him. I don't get it. I think that guy's just pretentious, and I'm tired of his interconnected blah, blah, BS crap. I just think he's horrible. Don't like Crash. Didn't like that other thing he did. I forgot what it was called. Made a good case.
I love Crash. I love Crash.
I know you do. Well, Third Person is his new one, and this has a great cast, including Mila Kunis and Liam Neeson, Olivia Wilde, James Franco, Maria Bello, Kim Basinger. And essentially, this is one of his Haggis's little interconnected drama things where you get these three couples. The one's in New York, one is in Paris, one is in Rome, and it's very well edited. Actually, it's the way that they keep all these balls juggling is really good. But the issue is that each of these stories, their purpose is sort of to illuminate what's happening with the other stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's not ambitious and interesting, but the thing is that these couples are not that involving. Their romantic crises are totally cliched and boring, and I just think that it's not great. The only thing I did like Liam Neeson not doing an action thing. I get that Liam Neeson is trying to,
mix it up.
He's trying to save the world because he couldn't save his wife, so he's working that out by making movies where he gets to save the worord to make up for the fact he couldn't save his wife's life, which is tragic, but I get it. But it is nice to see him do something like this again, so I will give you that. Mila Kunis, I'm not a big fan of her. I think she's gorgeous and she's hilarious on Family Guy, and God love her, but I just don't think she's that. She feels a little Bush League, a little B level in terms of that level of acting and commitment and being in those big movies. So anyway, not a big fan of third person.
Alrighty. So, great cast. In another kind of, I don't know if I want to call this so-so. It's kind of unexpected. Owen Wilson, Zach Galifianakis, and Amy Poehler in Are You Here? Which is written and directed by Matthew...
Terrible! This thing is so bad. This isn't Wade. This movie...
Written and directed by Matthew... Is it Weiner or Weiner?
You know what?
He's he created Mad Men.
He's the guy who created Mad Men, and this thing is absolutely dreadful. This thing... Now,
I'm trying to be forgiving, because it's not funny in the least. Like, you would expect with these three people it would be gut-bustingly hilarious. This isn't funny in the least. Well, but I'm not sure it's meant to be funny.
No, I think it is. Look, I don't blame him if he wants to do something totally different than Mad Men. Yeah, that's his every right. And he definitely puts together a good cast. But, man, is this thing just... The script is terrible. It's not that funny. It's a muddle. The tones are weird. It's just I don't know how this ungainly, unfunny, stupid movie wound up getting made. Other than the fact that it probably didn't cost a lot. It's not an A-list cast. Nice cast, not an A-list cast.
Mm-mm.
And I'm sure a lot of these people wanted to work with him. And I get it, but it's just terrible.
The idea here basically is that Zach Galifianakis and Amy Poehler are brother and sister. Their fathers died, and they're fighting over his fortune. And I've seen these situations in the past, and I think there are things in this movie that resonate that are very realistic. But that said, it is a bit of an odd duck of a movie. Assorted Lives is I'm inclined to say this is a black comedy. They call it a black comedy about white trash. I'm inclined to say that I love this movie just because Olivia's in it. And how long has it been since I've seen Olivia Newton-John in a movie?
Aww.
Long time.
Bless her.
Yes. Anyway, this is writer-director Del Shores has done a lot of... he's never quite burst through. And this one isn't going to necessarily burst through, but it's still... He's a very talented filmmaker. He makes really, really quirky stuff. The idea here is that you have this gay actor who goes back to where he came from in Texas to attend his grandmother's funeral, and you get to know all of the insanity that necessarily precipitated him, that sort of gave birth to who he is and what has made him a success and all of his issues and everything else. And it's a fun cast. It really is. It's a really, really fun cast. Delta Burke shows up in this thing. Bo Bridges, Bonnie Bedelia. It's the nice thing is it doesn't overplay its hand. It sort of knows when to pull back and when to be poignant and when to push it a little bit and be quirky and eccentric and funny. And Olivia's in it. What can I tell you? It's a good Blu-ray too. Wolf just gave us a really good Blu-ray. All right, let's see, Mark. We've got I got to burn through some. I've either got to burn through some anime or some British television.
You know what? I would bury British television as far as you can into the show because nobody cares.
You know what?
Every week you talk about British television. Nobody cares.
Yep. You know what? We just talked about a gay-themed film. I got some gay stuff here. We haven't covered gay cinema in quite a while. Outfest just concluded. It's worth talking about.
Rock and roll.
Worth talking about a few of these. Okay. I'm a porn star.
Well, wait, is that a name of a movie or is that a declaration?
That's
a very special episode of Digigods?
That's the name of the movie. That's the name of the movie. I'm a porn star. Actually, not. It is not as well. It is scandalous, but is not quite as scandalous as the title would lead you to believe. It's actually a look at the gay porn industry, which is a gigantic industry. We all know that porn is huge, and California's just chased porn away with the condom laws, so it's all gone to Arizona. So
How do you know that? How do you know that way? How do you know specifically it went to Arizona?
Well, I don't. I'm just. It seems to me the logical place to go. Okay. It's right over the border. It's warm. If your clothes are off, mm-hmm. You're not going to get cold.
Yeah. Right.
Or is it warm?
I don't know. But that's where Sheriff Joe is.
Who? What?
Sheriff Joe.
Sheriff Joe. Oh, that's right.
Wherever Sheriff Joe is, that's where I want to be.
Oh, yes. Anyway, so what they do is really they talk about a number of people who are involved in the gay porn industry, and they just sort of open up give you a look behind the curtain, as it were. And it's illuminating. I will say it's very illuminating. I mean, certainly some people will likely be offended by it, but I think from a purely economic and entertainment industry angle, it is extremely informative. Man at Bath comes to us from Canteen Outlaws, which is associated with TLA releasing. I'm not quite clear yet, and they haven't made it clear to me as to what the relationship is between the companies. I guess everything is eventually going to be TLA, so I guess there was a merger that went on. But anyway, this is from a director who I guess is kind of a big deal in the gay film industry, Christophe Honoré, and it is it's essentially a gay male romance. It's not particularly different as far as those films are concerned, but it's not unusual either. So it's very middle of the road. It doesn't some gay romances just feel so derivative and so like they're designed either to titillate or to shock, and they don't wind up doing either. This is not one of those. And then we have Eastsiders, Sex Lies, and Silver Lake. This is from the playwright Kit Williamson, and it takes place in a Silver Lake neighborhood, which is here in Los Angeles. Silver Lake's a very kind of artsy community, and it is feels like a play. It's well written. It's kind of stodgily directed. I'm not familiar with Kit Williamson, but clearly he's a good playwright. Could stand to probably improve on his filmmaking skills a little bit. Other films here we have from Wolf, Getting Go, which is from the guys who previously made Were the World Mine, which I saw and don't remember. But this has won a number of awards at a whole bunch of different festivals, and it's a good solid drama. It's very, very well written, interesting. It's a little bit of a navel gazer. It's a little meta because there's a making of a documentary inside the film. But that being said, pretty well done. And then lastly, real quickly, we've got another one from Wolf, which is Five Dances by director Alan Brown. Well done. A little bit thin on the screenplay, but definitely well directed. And then another one from Canteen Outlaws, which is Love or Whatever from Rosser Goodman. That's kind of middle of the road, fairly familiar stuff. In Bloom by C.M. Birkmeyer, and Eroddity from Stephen Vasquez. Those are both TLA releasing titles. So that is a collection of gay-themed films right on the heels of Outfest. And it is a niche industry that is becoming increasingly less niche as time goes on.
That's right, because Wade knows all about gay cinema.
Boy, do I ever. Tim actually used to go to Outfest every year. I never heavily covered Outfest.
Yes, Wade?
Okay. Oh, sorry.
We're doing a show.
Okay, so let's do. You know what? Let's do some. Let's do some.
Let's do the time warp again.
Let's do some docs, Mark.
Okay.
Let's do some docs.
Let's do some docs.
Because there are some good ones in here, and
now, when you say some good ones, you're talking about the Roosevelts, are you not?
You know, how did this do in the ratings? Do you know?
Well, everything Ken Burns does, put it this way, it did better than it would have done had Ken Burns not been associated with it.
Yeah.
But this is Ken Burns' latest. It's all about the Roosevelts, of which there were many, and many famous ones. It's about Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, of course, Eleanor Roosevelt. They were, of course, one of the most prominent and influential families in America at the time. And this thing is 7 parts, 14 hours. And even though it's about the Roosevelts, and it is incredibly detailed and very well researched, with the usual amount of great voiceovers and great archive photos and great music that you've come to expect, but it's also about just that time, Theodore was born in, it was like 1858 or something, and obviously the Roosevelt history goes all the way well into the 20th century.
And Eleanor Roosevelt's maiden name was Roosevelt. And she is related to Teddy. So FDR and Teddy are not related. It's Eleanor and Teddy who are related.
That is correct.
Yes.
Putting that out there. So Theodore, of course, was president, and of course FDR was president, and it's good. It's really good stuff. It's nice to see Ken Burns jumping around like that. He did the Civil War, then he did baseball, which of course I love because I love the subject. And with the Roosevelts, and he did Prohibition, which I think was amazing. I read a book about Prohibition, then watched the doc. It was great. And with Burns, his gift is he makes all this stuff just so fascinating. It never feels dry. It never feels like a history lesson. It's put together with such care. And even though a Ken Burns documentary sounds a certain way and feels and looks a certain way, it's still great. So there are special features in here, including about half a dozen bonus videos, a making of, a deleted scene with an introduction by Ken Burns. And it doesn't get overly stupendously political. Yes, he talks about, obviously, the Panama Canal and talks about the creation of the national park system and then especially the New Deal. Now, the New Deal nowadays is almost this weird little revisionist piece of history where suddenly the New Deal, which, pulled us out of the Depression, is, depending on how you feel today politically, is either like the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. At the time, no one really complained much about the New Deal at the time.
Yeah.
Especially in the immediate aftermath when it pulled us out of the Depression.
Yeah.
Now in the Obama, Fox News, MSNBC era, now it's like, the New Deal was the worst thing ever. I can't believe that he hates America. And then other people say, but the New Deal saved us from the Depression. It's just terrible. So, but he gets all into that. He gets into the New Deal, is Ken Burns obviously a liberal type, but even more than a liberal, he's a documentarian.
But my question is there do you get to see Teddy's big stick?
Are you hearkening back to the gay porn conversation we just had?
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Anyway, highly recommended. Go.
Alrighty. We got a couple from PBS on a couple of thoroughly unsavory individuals. If you want to just really depress yourself, you can watch Al Capone, Icon, or the Fidel Castro tapes. Gosh, what a couple of pieces of work these two are. Truly, the Al Capone doc is interesting in the sense that so much time has passed since Al Capone was like a significant figure that all anybody really knows is he had a vault that Geraldo found nothing in, and they got him on tax evasion. That's like all anybody remembers about Al Capone now. And really, when you go back and you visit this, you're like, wow, this is amazing, because Al Capone was kind of like he was not. Like, how did he control so much for so long, being such a horrible person? Well, because he actually, like dictators, he knew where to patronize. Like, he was a big jazz patron. He gave at a time when black musicians were heavily discriminated against. He really kind of, helped facilitate a lot of careers. That, among many other things, he was like a patron of other areas in the arts and so forth. Al Capone.
But that's why these guys are so great, because they are just as charming as they are terrifying.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what makes them fascinating.
Yeah. And then, of course, Fidel Castro, this just gets into the whole... you actually have recordings here, which is what makes this whole thing so upsetting. But really, it's you hear the lunatic far too often in his own words, and man, that guy just will not die, right? That's just unbelievable. Anyway, and it's true.
Anyway.
David Suchet, star of the Poirot series, Inspector Poirot, steps outside of the mustache and the whole Agatha Christie persona for this really cool documentary series that's now out from the Athena line of Acorn, and it is called In the Footsteps of St. Paul, which is essentially tracing the history of Christianity, beginning with the figure of Paul the Apostle. So this is like all post-Jesus. This is in a much more readily documented period, and you go back to that first century, and it is not an evangelical approach. It is not a preachy approach. It is not a religious approach. It's a historical approach, and it is thoroughly fascinating. And he talks to archaeologists and priests and everybody else, and they go to all of the locations, and from a purely historical standpoint, it is just beautifully, beautifully made and really fascinating. And what a great guy to host it. He's so intense, and yet he's just so curious about everything. I mean, he legitimately is not just a guy who was hired to host a show. He actually is really, really interested, and he makes you interested as a result.
Wade, a good documentary that I would highly recommend is called For No Good Reason. And For No Good Reason is a biodoc on a very controversial and pretty amazing British artist named Ralph Steadman. Now, Ralph Steadman, he's sort of known for his associations with Hunter S. Thompson. In fact, some of his artwork, I believe, was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Because when they're driving down the road, going to Vegas, it gets all trippy and weird. This stars, the star doesn't star, but it features Johnny Depp and Richard E. Grant, Terry Gilliam, and Jan Wenner, who created Rolling Stone, the publisher. And it's great stuff. Very interesting stuff, very intimate portrait. It talks about his Steadman's work, how he landed on the style he landed on, all the images he put out there, which a lot of them are very startling and a little bit disturbing. So it's good. It's a really good documentary for no good reason. If you're interested in artistry, if you're interested in the type of artistry that would influence someone like Terry Gilliam and Johnny Depp, you are going to want to check out For No Good Reason. Good stuff.
Great. I got a couple of war ditties here. But you've never heard the word ditty combined with war, have you?
Yes, I did.
That's what I do. Anyway, the first one is The Hornet's Nest on Blu-ray. This is really good. It is it's essentially a bird, well, not even a bird's eye. It's like an on-the-ground embedded journalist view of military actions in Afghanistan. I'm not quite sure there's ultimately a point to it other than to immerse you in these events and how things go wrong and how things go right and how bloody and violent and random and unpredictable it is. But it's really, really good, and it's the Blu-ray with the DTS audio and there's no sweetening here. I mean, they capture amazing imagery and amazing audio. And this is what Blu-ray is made for, at least from the photojournalist or the video journalist point of view. So it makes you certainly never ever want to go to Afghanistan. I'll say that. This is the worst thing for the Afghani tourism industry that's ever been done. And then the other one is Korengal. Korengal was directed by Sebastian Junger, or Junger, however you want to pronounce it, who previously did Restrepo, and he is of course a journalist himself. And Restrepo it's not even like a prequel and a sequel thing. It's like it's all from the same incident in the same area, and he just clearly had more footage than he knew what to do with. So he's pieced it together into yet another film, and it's again, this is from Virgil Films, and it is brutal and it is immersive, and it puts you right there in the middle of the action, and it's really tough. And the nice thing here is you get a bonus feature, a TED Talk by Sebastian on why veterans miss war, and a commentary. The commentary is sharp, but the TED Talk is incredible. It's really incredible, and that's one of the best extras I've seen, the most unpredictably or unexpectedly good extras in quite a long time.
Wade, one of the most talked about documentaries of a recent vintage is Fed Up. And Fed Up is narrated by Katie Couric. And it is all about how we just really eat crappy food all the time.
I'm sure.
But a lot of this has to do with the childhood obesity and the insidious, big food companies, and the fact that we just don't have the political will to address the problems. And obviously, people just love their crap food and won't do anything about it. So I don't know that this is necessarily, in terms of we were talking about Ken Burns earlier. I wouldn't call Stephanie, I'm going to butcher her name, Stephanie Suchet's documentary. Yeah. I wouldn't call her Ken Burns-esque in the way she puts over this information, but it's still great information. And again, if you've got kids, I know Wade Major has a daughter who will be eating lots of junk food soon, because Wade will do nothing but feed his daughter just Reese's Pieces and
it's not happening.
Peanut butter and chocolate cake, just stuffing her face with just
not gonna happen.
Malamars and drinking Yoo-hoo all.
Oh, maybe the Yoo-hoo.
It's America's favorite chocolate drink.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. It's alarmist, but it's not over the top. And she introduces you to all these kids who are struggling with weight issues. There's the 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, and others too. It gets into how the government really couldn't care less. I mean, they give lip service to promoting health and promoting wellness, but let's face it, the government and big food, they're all in collusion together. Yeah. And this documentary, Fed Up, gets into all of it, and it's a wake-up call. It's really, really good. Fed Up.
A couple from the PBS Secrets of series. This is it's all exploring London and whatever else, but primarily British stuff. And Secrets of Westminster is a beautiful tour of Westminster Abbey, Parliament, and Big Ben. Parliament is important because if you're not a British citizen, you can't get into Parliament. That's just how it is. You got to have a British passport to even get into the building. That's the new security measure, and it's an amazing building. I, of course, stood on the outside last time I was in London, and last several times, and I just sort of sneer at the statue of Oliver Cromwell for all kinds of...
James Cromwell from Babe?
No, Oliver Cromwell.
James Cromwell from Star Trek First Contact?
Oliver Cromwell, who ejected my ancestor from England. Threw him out.
It's all
Kicked
about
him out.
you. I referenced Star Trek First Contact. You referenced your ancestors.
Didn't want my ancestors. My ancestor objected to his sister marrying Oliver Cromwell's son.
I have no idea what you said.
And he was like, "Get out." So he got out. But anyway, Big Ben also pretty awesome. Westminster Abbey, wonderful place to tour. Lots of cool people are dead there and rotting under the stones. And then Secrets of Her Majesty's Secret Service is all about MI6, at least as much as they can tell you without killing you. And, we know all about MI6 from the TV show and from James Bond and a million movies. And it is over 100 years old now. And what I didn't even realize is they didn't actually admit that MI6 existed until 1994. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. We knew about MI5.
Right.
But, whenever you said MI6, they were just, there is no MI6. It only goes to 5.
There's no MI6.
It only goes to 5.
Governor?
At which you're supposed to say, but this one goes to 11. I'll bet you there's an MI11. Wouldn't that be great if there was an MI11?
No.
No, maybe not. Anyway, no. This is so. As much as they can get into it, they get into it, and it's fascinating and it's really interesting. But it barely fills an hour.
This is a weird story.
Okay.
And there's a documentary called The Galapagos Affair, Satan Came to Eden.
Oh, of course.
You don't know. It's interesting stuff. I was not aware of this at all. So, in the 1930s, this doctor from Berlin and his mistress decide to start a new life on this completely uninhabited island.
Uh-huh.
True story.
Yeah.
And it was covered in the international press. And they were called the Galapagos' Adam and Eve. These two people drop out of society and they decide they're going to go to this uninhabited island and live like Adam and Eve. So when the press starts covering it, other people start coming. And when other people start coming, someone's going to bring a gun. And if someone brings a gun, someone's going to get hurt. And the Galapagos Affair, Satan Came to Eden, is all about that. And it's the story is just it's melodramatic and it's exotic and there's lots of intrigue and there's violence and it's just really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of talking heads in it, a lot of talking heads because there's obviously very very little super footage, They have a lot of footage of the local wildlife and whatever turtles that live there, But it's really interesting. I had no idea that this story existed, and that's what the best documentaries do. And so I would definitely check out the Galapagos Affair, Satan Came to Eden. It's a little bit of a pulpy subtitle, but there's 14 deleted scenes. This thing played at Telluride, so the DVD includes the director Q&A. There's the trailer, and it's a decent HD transfer, considering a lot of the footage is very old. So, this is a new, interesting, weird, kind of like documentary, The Galapagos Affair. Very intriguing stuff.
Fantabulous. Our last documentary, before we dovetail into some other stuff to wrap out the show, is Casting by documentarian Tom Donahue. And, this is an interesting doc because it's a wonderful, wonderful look at the history of a particular part. It was looking at the history of movies through the craft of casting, and specifically the contributions of a casting director named Marion Dougherty. Marion Dougherty kind of pioneered casting as it is today. And if you look at movies and you always see casting by, 9 out of 10 times you're going to see casting by and there'll be women's names. It has become a field that women dominate as much as men dominate in cinematography and in composing and other crafts. Women dominated in casting. And it's really interesting because it didn't always used to be that way, but Marion Dougherty sort of pioneered that and brought in this group of women who went on and started their own firms, and then each one of their acolytes started a firm, and next thing you know, suddenly the women have begotten women, and the casting field has become primarily dominated by women. And this gets into that history, and again, the history of certainly there are men that they talk about here as well who were crucial in casting. But they trace it through the different movies and Midnight Cowboy and all kinds of movies that have just fascinating casting history. And you're loving this, and then at the end, you realize there's a little bit of a bait and switch, that this movie was made specifically to evangelize the creation of an Academy Award category for casting directors.
Oh, that's not fair.
But, that being said, I don't care. It's still a terrific film. It's still a terrific film. This is from HBO Documentary Films, who always does really, really good work. And despite the fact that it just sort of shamelessly pitches that at the end and feels like the whole thing was just a giant, PSA for the sake of creating a new Oscar category, you just can't deny. It's a great history. It's an important history about a great woman and some other really great figures and lots of great interviews and movie clips, and it makes you fall in love with the movies all over again. And you certainly learn to appreciate the value of casting.
That's
which
true.
is a really unsung, area. It's
it is because we take it for granted. Oh, look,
do.
there's Harrison Ford in Han Solo.
Yeah,
that just sort of just happened.
Yeah.
No, it didn't just happen. Somebody brought him in.
Yep.
Like, for instance, and this is a bad example, but when I did a show, I did a show about 12, 13 years ago, and the casting director of the show said to me, it was a reality show, it was on Spike. The casting director said, there's this woman, I bring her in for everything I do, and she would be perfect for this. You've got to read this woman, who I love so much, because she's so funny. You're going to love her. I'm going to bring her in, check her out. So I said, yes, Mrs. Casting Director, whose name I can't remember. Who is this woman you want? You've got to see this woman named Kristen Wiig. Kristen Wiig is great. So I'm like, all right, bring her in. So she brought in Kristen Wiig, and Kristen Wiig was, of course, fantastic, and we cast her in the show. And the show was called The Joe Schmo Show, and then she went on to become Kristen Wiig. But it was all because this casting director always brought Kristen in, just to meet as many people as she could, read in front of as many producers as she could, loved her so much, just pushed her up the hill, and eventually she became Kristen Wiig, and now, of course, she's great.
Now she's Kristen Wiig.
Yes.
Before she was just Kristen Wiig.
Well, when she met me, the one time she met me, she was just Kristen Wiig.
So, 4 quick films here from Screen Media, who does a lot of little indie things that sometimes fall below the radar. One is 10 Rules for Sleeping Around, which includes Jesse Bradford, who has done so much better work, and I really wish that Jesse Bradford would show up in something better than this. This is kind of a throwaway movie about a couple of buddies who, are a couple of womanizers, and when their other womanizing friends start to settle down, they try to, force the issue and prove that they're not going to settle down. It just doesn't. It's just one of those movies that tries to be extreme and raunchy, and it doesn't really work. Hoser is okay. This is about a guy who hosts a sports radio show and he's a bit of a shock jock, and he gets a concussion and then says, I'm going to be a tough guy. I'm not going to get anything for it. I'm not going to get treated for it. And naturally, everything, from there, he pays the price and the consequences dovetail. And it winds up being a bit of an issue film because concussions are a big deal in sports, and hockey and soccer and football and everything. And so it's kind of a message movie, but it doesn't play its hand very openly, and I appreciated that. The best of the lot is The Moment, which is a surprisingly really good film to not get any kind of distribution, and at least theatrically. Good cast: Jennifer Jason Leigh, Martin Henderson, who I always really like, and Alia Shawkat, who I also like quite a lot, and Meatloaf, still going by Meatloaf. Don't know
Sometimes he goes by Meatloaf a day.
I know.
Which is weird.
He needs to just pick one and go with it. But anyway, the Jennifer Jason Leigh and Martin Henderson have an affair, and then he plays a journalist. He goes missing, and she winds up in a hospital. And what happened to them to create all of that is the mystery that the film tries to unravel, and it does so very methodically and in a really well written way. And I thought it was a pretty sharp little movie. So I hope everybody involved actually gets a dividend from this. And then lastly, on the Screen Media front is Live Nude Girls, which I'm going to say two things: Dave Foley and Andy Dick. Mark,
yes.
If a movie has Dave Foley and Andy Dick in it,
I'm going to run the other direction. Quite frankly, that's what I'm going to do.
They kind of have become the kiss of death. Anyway, there's another movie called Live Nude Girls from years ago that my wife actually worked on, which has nothing to do whatsoever with anything titillating. This is sort of barely titillating. The only thing that kind of makes it work is Dave Foley. Andy Dick is just irritating beyond all comprehension. Dave Foley has not really had the career that he should have had. I mean, Dave Foley had a moment,
Yeah, but now he's all fat and weird.
I mean, he had his Bug's Life moment.
He did.
But
you didn't see him in Bug's Life, so you didn't know.
Yeah, but he should have been able to translate that into something.
He should have been able to have been some low budget a comedy actor type guy.
Well, anyway.
Like a Paul Rudd type.
Well, the whole thing takes place around a gentleman's club that this one guy inherits from his uncle, and Dave Foley's the guy who runs it, and it's not. It sort of winds up having a sweetness about it that you wouldn't expect to have been a movie about a strip club, but it's not nearly as titillating as some people might be hoping for, which I think is actually a good thing. All right, we are quickly running out of time. Let's see. Why don't we? You know what, Mark? Yes,
sir.
Let's wrap out.
What?
Let's wrap out with a couple with some Mill Creek Olive and Criterion.
I like it.
Mark, you are a fan of that movie.
Yes. Is this finally out? God, that took forever.
Oh gosh.
You know what? See, here's the thing. Yes.
I was going to say it.
Well, you're very mean because I didn't know this was out, and you wanted to surprise me with it, so I haven't seen this Blu-ray.
The thing is, yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's out. It's out finally.
Now I don't know.
It was out on DVD years ago, 6 years ago.
I know. Well, of course, we're not telling people what we're talking about.
It's Krull.
Krull is going to be the Star Wars for the Middle Earth fantasy type folks.
Krull was made by Peter
Bogdanovich.
No.
Peter Yates.
The same year that he made The Dresser and got Oscar nominations for The Dresser, and everyone conveniently forgot that he made Krull the same year.
I don't understand why.
You just love the James Horner score.
I don't understand why Horner's not in the credit bed on the Blu-ray. That's just bizarre. I mean, he's the most famous guy in the whole thing.
That's an omission, I'm sure.
This is bizarre.
Yeah.
But I remember Krull. When I saw Krull, I loved it. I bought the soundtrack. Wade bought the soundtrack. Mm-hmm. Right? You know it. You love
it.
Totally.
Of course.
And now, of course, again, as I said, because Wade decided to surprise me with this, I have not seen this Blu-ray, but I'm going to take a guess And I'm going to say
There's
that
nothing
this
wrong.
movie
It's a Mill Creek release. It's a suitable. I'll say this really quickly. It's an okay Blu-ray. It's fine. It's not like if you're a crawl aficionado and you're looking for that pristine Blu-ray that'll just like wow your guests. It's not going to show off your system. It's adequate, but it's not going to blow your mind.
I'm gonna make a guess that if you were nice enough to let me watch this Blu-ray, I guarantee you, I bet this movie sucks. I really bet it sucks. But Liam Neeson's in it, and that's cool.
Let's put it this way: it borrows from so many better movies. It does. When the Cyclops comes running back on it,
it's awesome.
It's nothing but Han Solo returning in the woohoo! It's the exact same plot device. We also have Betty Boop, The Essential Collection Volume 4.
Yay.
This is an ongoing series of releases from Olive Films, who has sub-licensed everything from Paramount. And you know what? It's amazing how many really great Betty Boop cartoons there are. They're really good. These are all from the 30s. This runs the gamut from the 30s. And there's like Snow White with Cab Calloway, and Pudgy the Watchman, Zula Hula. I mean, a lot of these are really classic. Poor Cinderella is a color short that's just dazzling. It's amazing how good animation was back there. And because I watch a lot of Nickelodeon and Nick Jr., it makes me realize just how horrendous animation has become.
Well, also
80 years later, we have not improved.
Also, you have to understand that, like, Betty Boop, she was fashioned to be like a sexy flapper girl.
Yeah.
And her costumes, even though she was animated, were very revealing.
Yeah.
And what people might not know, and this might give it some historical interest for people, is that after the Hays Code was introduced in the 1934, she had to cover up.
True.
She had to cover up.
Very true.
So pretty much the Hays Code was so restrictive that animated characters had to wear more clothing.
Isn't it amazing?
Terrible.
So the Rainer Werner Fassbinder collection that was previously a Wellspring release, and Wellspring doesn't exist anymore, and they released like a ton of his movies, like 20 or 30 of these movies, like over a decade ago. And those have been impossible to find. They're out of print. People pay obnoxious amounts of money for them online. I don't know why, because everyone has to surely realize that these movies are going to wind up coming out again at some point. And sure enough, these Fassbinder films are slowly making their way out from Criterion in fantastic new transfers. So if you paid, $300 for your Ali Fear Eats the Soul DVD that was already used or whatever, you're gonna regret it, because you got a great new splashy Blu-ray with lots of extras of Rainer Werner Fassbinder's 1974 film Ali Fear Eats the Soul. And this is essentially, Fassbinder, even though a lot of people don't fully process this, loved Douglas Sirk. His films are very Sirkian in a very crucial way. And this is basically a remake of All That Heaven Allows from 1955, which is also available as a Criterion. And it's transplanted into a German situation, into a certain, he puts his own imprimatur on it, but it's really interesting to compare the two films. It really is. And Fassbinder treats race very differently from the way that Sirk treats race. So you get that as well. It's a little bit like Chabrol versus Hitchcock. He borrows from him, but then he gives it his own spin. Tons of extras here, beautiful stuff. It really, really. One in particular is pretty jarring, and this is it's a 2002 short called Angst ist Seele auf. I'm half German, and you'd think I'd be able to pronounce that better. But it's the story. It's based on an actual neo-Nazi event. Incident, and it connects to this film in a very crucial way. There's also a 1976 BBC piece, and this is must own. Fassbinder is like essential cinema. And then lastly, also from Criterion, is the Blu-ray of the 1962. Gosh, that was a good year, 62. I mean, Lawrence of Arabia is always like my touchstone film from that year, but what a lot of great movies came out that year.
Wade was like 20 years old in 1962?
Yeah, that's true. This is Sundays and Sybil.
Wade was not 20. He wasn't born.
This is Sundays and Sybil by Serge Bourguignon. Serge Bourguignon. from 1962 on Blu-ray, a fantastic widescreen, spectacular, beautiful black and white French film from a director who really is not sort of considered an icon of the era. You know, you don't 1962. You're talking about Truffaut and Godard, and you know the new wave guys are really hitting their stride. But no, this is and Jacques Demy, right? But no, this is pretty great. I'm not that familiar with Serge Bourguignon, but this is really great. It's about a veteran and a kid, and it's just this amazing friendship between the two of them, and how it engenders, how it changes their environment and their neighborhood and the people they associate with throughout Paris, in positive and negative ways. It's really wonderful, and maybe most significantly, it features a score by Maurice Jarre, which was written right before he did Lawrence of Arabia.
Now, hang on. Is that one of Maurice Jarre's electronic scores or one of his orchestral scores?
Well, he didn't do electronic. They did Peter Weir stuff. So this is definitely orchestral. You see the seeds of everything that turned him into an overnight success as an Oscar-winning composer less than a year later. Wonderful movie. Lots of great extras, as always. So Criterion gets 2 home runs this week.
I didn't like Jarre's electronic stuff.
I do too.
I didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, you like it?
Oh, I do like it
really?
very much. Yeah, I like it. I like it in Witness, and I like. Yeah, sure.
Lame.
Of course I do.
Lame.
All right, with that, we're done. Maybe we'll have different microphones next week, Mark.
I think, you know what, if you have any comments on the way because we know you guys listen to the podcast in your car or on your iPod, whatnot, and obviously the listening experience is paramount for us because no one wants to look at us. So if you have an issue with the microphones, please let us know, and we will swap them out.
Yeah, I think
Very important.
I think I'm going to switch this up next week.
Okay.
All right.